Well, thank you for coming on the red carpet round table.
Thank you for having me.
You're
It's a
you're ve-
pleasure to be here.
you're very welcome. I want to dig into what made you decide to become an actress.
That's a very good question. What's really funny actually is about 10 years ago, probably, I was in a conversation with um, a, a director, and I didn't know he was a director, but we were hanging out as friends, and he looked at me, he's like, because he had been in movies and, shot some things, and he's like, you should be an actress. You should come be in, come be in one of my movies. And I was like, oh, I can't act. You know what I mean? Like, no, 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 that's not me. And then sure enough, the way life would play out, about 5, 6 years later, I completely fell in love with acting after trying it. But the story of it goes like this. When I was in middle school and I started watching cartoons, I started watching anime and all that stuff, I wanted nothing more than to be a voice actor. And when my friends and us would go play and, throw sand at each other and pretend we were casting magic spells and all that stuff, I would always get deeply into the voice and the character itself. And I held on to that. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a voice actor. And then I grew and went to school and, practicality hit me. And so I kind of said, maybe that's not practical. Let's do something more reasonable, right? But as life would have it, after leaving school and becoming a mother, I took a little time off work. And when I revisited what I wanted to do, I wasn't sure. I just kind of was in a state of exploration and had no idea. And my husband looks at me and he goes, what do you want to do? Like, if you could do anything in the world without any hesitation, without holding back, no limitations, what would it be? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I've lost myself. I have to figure that out. So I took a little bit of time and I finally came back to him and I said, if I could do anything, anything, I would be a voice actor. And he goes, okay, be a voice actor. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure? What if I never make a penny? He goes, don't worry about that. Like pursue it. And I said, okay. So I went all in on it. And what's funny is, so we built a beautiful professional booth to which I recorded.
Hmm.
And I began my journey. And I studied from the greats, and I would talk to big A-list voice actors and say, okay, well, what did you do to become a better voice actor? How can I take your wisdom and apply it to my own talents? And I was talking to a voice actress who's in Hollywood and, who's done well. And she said, I think the difference between me and the other talent that didn't get it was I did theater. And I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, that bolstered me. It bolstered my resume. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't want to do theater. I don't want to do it. But I was like, I'm very, very dedicated. And so I'm like, I'm gonna bolster my acting skills by doing theater. So I become a better voice actor. So I call a director and I say, I want to audition for this role. I audition for a lead role. I get it in theater. And there I am in theater performing and screaming my lungs out on stage and doing all this fun stuff. And so I sort of grabbed experience in that avenue, applied it to voice acting, became a better voice actor from that experience. And then I said, okay, well, what's next? Film. Film is next. How can I grab all these different pillars of acting and throw it
Hmm.
into the booth? And then I got in film. And I remember I was background talent on like a Netflix show. And it was a club scene. And it was just like normal dancing, oomph,
Hmm.
oomph,
Hmm.
oomph. But what's funny, and they don't tell you this, there is no sound. When you hit the set and there's smoke and there's fog and there's lights flashing, there's no sound, there's no beat, there's no nothing. It is dead quiet on set. And they're like, action. And everybody's like, what song are we dancing to in our heads? Like, it's so funny. But anyways. So I was watching the lead talent perform, and I was like, I want to do that. And then I started applying for lead roles in film and I started getting them.
It's
Um, and
amazing.
so essentially, I fell in love with film through voice acting. And now I love both, but I definitely love film. So that's my journey of how I got into acting.
Well, absolutely amazing. Here you are being an actress. Has there ever been a moment in your career that you wanted to quit?
No, no, not even a little bit. Matter of fact, every time somebody says you can't, I go, watch me.
And you can do it. Auditions, I want to talk about it. You have to have a thick skin to be in this entertainment industry. So, how do you handle all the no's and then until you get that yes?
Um, how do you handle rejection? You have to understand that rejection is a part of the game.
Hmm.
You have to understand that in order to pursue acting and to pursue opportunity, that the competition is stiff and that there's a million little criteria you have to meet that sometimes have absolutely nothing to do with your skill. And so if you can kind of detach those things and decide, I'm going to go at this with an attitude of fun, a attitude of play. I'm going to play, and enjoy it. And, you know, never expect to get it, but have that be a hopeful cherry on top. I think it's so easy. And I've seen a ton of actors get so discouraged after rejection. But you have to not take it personally. You cannot take it personally. If you do, going to, you're not going to do yourself any type of service. And the confidence, um, your confidence cannot come from the people looking at you. Your
Hmm.
confidence has to come from within. Because if you allow others to control that cup of yours, it's going to go like this.
Right.
I mean, you use feedback to fuel yourself to push your range and do everything
Hmm.
you can, but you really have to detach the two. You have to understand that rejection is a part of this industry. Perseverance is a massive virtue you need as an actor. And then just remember to play and have fun.
Amen. That is so true. My next question is, what the first thing do you look for when you read a script?
I guess it depends. Um, when you go into script analysis, there's so many things. I think the first time reading through a script, depending on how much time I have, like if I'm looking at somebody's movie script, the first thing I ask myself now, keyword, is it a good story? Because there are some bad scripts out there. There's some, God bless, but there are some stories that need a lot of nurturing. And now the first thing I do when I read a script is I actually judge it myself to see if it's um, a quality script. Is it something that I want to be a part of? Number one. And then number two, if we're talking about character, you know, I I try to keep myself open. When
Hmm.
I'm reading that first time through, I try not to make any snap judgments about the character. I ask myself at the end of it, whether it was a scene that I was reading or the full story, is like, what is my character's goal? What did they want? That's the first question.
Hmm.
What do they want? And usually you can pinpoint that throughout the script in the movie. And once you figure out what their want or their need is, then you can go back and assess with hopefully some creative input and flexibility how they got there, what they did to get there, and if there's any personality traits that blend between you and your character, and how you can mold those two.
That's very interesting. And have you ever been into a character that you had a hard time getting out of, or has it deeply impacted you?
Yes. There was one set I was on, and oh man, my character was so angry. She was so angry. And I don't commit to any one particular style of acting because as you know, if you're watching this, or maybe you're not in the industry and you're just amused, um, there are different techniques when it comes to acting, and there's no one right technique, my personal opinion. It's like whatever breathes authenticity into the story,
Hmm.
you know? So however you get there, whether it's fake it till you make it, if that's believable and entertaining, then it's good. You know, if it's Meisner, if it's method, if it's and method for those that don't know is like it's really like living and breathing it, feeling it yourself, letting it be very real. That's where you get characters or people that dive into stories and they become that character in real life.
Right.
And then, you know, Meisner is very about instinctual reaction
Hmm.
and, you know, listening and just being very natural in response. But so I'm a blend of many techniques. And I did fall more into method one time because I was stuck. I was stuck in anger and rage, and I was so peed off that I they yelled cut, and I was like, I like my friend looked at me. She's like, "Hey, you good?" I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. Like, nope. Just give me a second. I stormed off set. You know, like these people are totally innocent of any real like faux pas, if you will. But like in my mind, I was just so filtered with the
Hmm.
emotional chemistry of anger and the emotional chemistry of frustration and justice and
Right.
um, you know, you can't like when those chemicals enter your body, you have to regulate them afterwards and process them out. So when you get a method actor or somebody who's in a method moment, you have to understand that the chemicals in their body are actually signaling these real feelings. So the chemistry is real. So yes, I have stormed off set, not at anybody, but just to give myself a breather after coming down from a very intense scene.
Hmm.
And same thing on theater. I got in a fight with my husband, and I was yelling at him in rehearsal one time. It was the script, not me. I was yelling at him, and then afterwards he's like, he comes over to me. He's like, "Are you okay? Like you're not actually mad at me, are you?" I'm like, "No, no." I mean, it's good. This is good that you believe me so deeply, but like no, it's not you. It's your
Hmm.
character.
Right.
It's
I
fun.
That's good you brought that up because some people, some actors and actresses have a hard time getting the character off their, and like they go home and they do it in front of their whole family, and their family's like, "Wait a minute, what's just happening?" And they're like, "What?" And they're like, "We never heard you say that word, for example." And
Hmm.
they're like, "What?" And they're like, "You don't." They're like, "Okay, never mind." And you say it again. They're like, "That word," and they're like, "What?" You know, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay," and you're like, "Oh," and that's, I guess, a lot of people kind of get a little triggered because they're like, "Okay, I can't bring it home. Can't bring it to the family
Hmm.
because you're in that character." And
Yeah.
everybody's like, whoa. So, it's a good point because I think a lot of people that watch a lot of movies and TV shows, um,
Hmm.
they don't understand the actors and actresses that go on set, that they're playing these characters and then they don't know how it's messing with their mind and their brain.
Yes. Yes. And that's important, and that because I also teach as well. And there are many ways to get yourself into a state of authentic emotion. And it's not always easy to really achieve it, but when you do, like I said, your chemistry is, unless you're
Hmm.
completely faking it and it's just believable, but it's unlikely that you would have no chemical alterations during those moments. So yeah, and that's also too what you were talking about, because again, some actors, and respect and love to them, they're very committed, but they take the method to an extreme where they literally become that character. And again, with all due respect, I personally don't think that to that degree it's healthy,
Right.
because you don't want to, as you said, let's say your character's depressed. Like, what you have to ask yourselves, what are the risks of doing
Hmm.
this to this
So,
degree?
right.
Or are there other ways I can get to this level of commitment and excellence without putting myself through that? Which is, again, why I like to blend so many techniques, because I think everybody's individual, and you'll find bits and pieces of each style that resonate with you and what brings your excellence up. So I do agree with
Amen.
you in that capacity. It can be a
That's
scary
a good
thing.
point. That is a good point. I want to dig into what's your why? Why are you doing this?
Why? Can love and passion be one? Like, is that a good enough reason?
Yes.
I am so unbelievably enamored with storytelling
Hmm.
and the art of becoming, bringing a script to life is beautiful. You take something, a story that was written and with all heart, and it is hard to write a good story, so you're trusted. You're not only are you cast, you are picked by a group of people to represent a character from their mind.
Hmm.
And what bigger honor is there than like being somebody's vision of life? It's any type of creative form of art. There's so much vulnerability in it, and that includes story writing. Um, and it's just it's so motivating to
Motivating, you're right.
to be
Hmm.
inspired by being chosen, and then being able to breathe life into a story is a really motivating factor. It's an art, and it's fun and exciting, and like healthy stress. It's a good challenge, and so there's many things that motivate me, but ultimately I'm just passionate about the art and honored by it.
Right. That's so amazing. Thank you. That's so true. And everybody's so curious. Any actors and actresses, or especially kids or teenagers, they want to know what their why they're doing this, and it's
Yeah.
storytelling, their passion. Um, Now for you, if you mind me asking, are you in any nonprofit organization? If so, what are they? Or are you involved helping your community? You don't have to say no name about the community or the event they're in, but is there anything that you're helping your own town, your own community, mental illness, or excuse me, or anything that is helping your community?
Yes, yes. Actually, this is it's funny you bring this up, which is kind of cool. So I'm not only an actress and a voice actress and a model, but I also produce. I produce for the company Enigmaw Studios, which is Sugar Boys is our action film. It's in post-production right now, and that's the one I'm also acting in. Funny enough, but it's an amazing movie. You all should check it out when you get a chance to. But we just were able to have a sponsorship for veterans and mental health and things like that. And so that's something we recently partake
That's
or partook in.
amazing.
Yeah, and then other than that, there's no specific nonprofit besides, the here and there that we can support
Hmm.
and be a part of, but we do love to provide creative opportunities for people looking to shadow or curious and exploring. And we like to keep the doors of communication open and supportive to our local artists and
That's
creative art.
awesome.
Yeah.
And your I'm sorry, veterans. That's amazing that you're making a film and documentary about veterans. in the
Oh,
United
so
States.
so we're not making a film, but we just did
I'm
a
sorry.
sponsor.
Yeah,
No, that's
that's
okay. We
sponsors.
just did a sponsorship
That's
to
my
support an
brain kind of
event.
froze when you said that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but that's amazing that you're doing that for the community. It means a lot, everything they've done for us as well. You said any upcoming projects before that you're working on that you can talk about?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like I said, if you haven't heard, Sugar Boys, and I'm in Michigan. I'm Michigan, Detroit area based. But our company, Enigma Studios, the CEO
Hmm.
is Marquise White, and he's the director and writer on these scripts. Um, we've got some stuff in the oven. Sugar Boys right now is wrapping up. It's the first movie, and it's an action film with notes of comedy. It's about two mismatched Detroit detectives that stumble upon a kind of mysterious missing woman's case, and it's fun how they get there. Uh, but it dives into a deep conspiracy that unravels throughout the film, and it gets more intense and high stakes as the film goes on. And it's a very good movie, coming
Wow.
right here out of Detroit. Yeah, and we are in talks with the theaters right now, matter of fact. So good things are to come there. But besides
Yeah.
that, our next film is
Yes.
going to be a family adventure sci-fi starring
Okay.
kids. Yep. And it's going to be a really wild adventure, including aliens and spaceships, crashes, and
Yes.
who knows, the White House. Like, I mean, the possibilities are endless at this
Yeah,
point. But
I love sci-fi movie. That's why I went yes.
yes, yes.
And for you, the movie that's coming out and
Mhm.
your character, the first one you talked about, what
Sure.
can everybody talk about your character?
Yeah, yeah. My character,
Not the spoiler, I
she,
know, but
yes, she,
what
you
what do
see what
you
I'm like considering
yes,
saying. Uh,
just
she,
rephrase that is what do you want the audience to learn
mm,
by watching you mainly as your character? And a follow-up question is, what do you hope the audience learns by watching this?
I think that this this movie, there's so well, first of all, let me just say there's so many lessons that can be learned in this movie. There's so many different takeaways. Speaking about the movie in general, what I would want people to notice is the quality of the movie is really admirable, and the fact that character growth is a prominent aspect. Like, you get to watch especially the main characters, you got watch each of them develop, arc, go through trials and tribulations that alter their character to a degree and change who they are by from the start of the movie. They are not the same person they are by the end. And that's just like life. If uncertainty and growth and change is uncomfortable, many times when we're challenged or when we feel uncertain, it is the most uncomfortable feeling, but just on the other side of that is a stronger, better version of you. And that happens in this movie to a degree. You get to watch these characters go through uh, some major challenges and very uncertain circumstances. And you watch them change and grow into better men, you know? and
Hmm.
or just more human, more reflective, more wholesome, a bigger picture. So it's not always black and white. There's always gray. As far as my character goes, she is a headstrong woman
Hmm.
who uh, gets involved. She's a bit of an advocate. Um, she's scared, but she prioritizes truth and courage and taking the harder path and not the most convenient path in order to do what she thinks is right. And she puts herself into some major trouble in the process. Um, but because she's not afraid to poke and prod and ask
Right,
questions,
right.
she's not afraid to ask the ugly
Mhm.
truths, and she pursues that, and it does get her into trouble. So I love that courage in my character. And she too goes through a lot. But in the end, she
Okay.
chooses to um, stay with it,
Hmm.
and not just because it's easier to walk away from something doesn't mean
Hard.
yeah, it doesn't mean that it's right.
If you
It's
mind,
always
like,
easy to be comfortable, right?
right.
But she
If that was
chooses to be uncomfortable in the
right,
name of pursuing what's right.
right. That's so true. If that was the word that you were looking for, hard, but
Hmm.
the way you want to pursue it. As a character is for you as an actress.
Yeah,
Um, is there, I know you say, we talk about reading a script, but as for yourself, and every female actress is different and every male
yeah.
is different. Is there a particular role that you as yourself looking for as a character? Is it action, horror, drama, police, or what as yourself dig in your brain
Yeah.
what is that particular character you love the most that you want to or you dream of doing the role or like you have already done it?
Yeah. I'm not married to one particular genre. I'm open in that capacity. I love every character I get to play. I can tell you, I tend to get cast into more demanding, serious roles. Sometimes emotional. I get cast in very demanding, emotional roles. Um, which I take as a compliment. But there's also a very warm side to my personality, and
Mhm.
I have the capacity to be very bubbly. Um, I think a role I would love to explore would be something like there's a movie called Something About Mary. Something akin to like a role like that would be right up my natural personality alley, and it's something I would love to explore. I did get cast in a role similar to that, but the movie has not started production yet. So, and it's always a roll of the dice whether or not things will always or all completely come to fruition. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, that's one I would love to explore more is that side of my acting. And I'm honored and excited to play villains and serious roles and or the damsel in distress or whatever it is. I love it all, but the one I would love to explore next would be like comedy, romantic rom-com, something like that.
It's amazing. What's your dream role you want to do?
Well, a good villain. Yeah, because and I might have this in the bag pretty soon, but I would love to play a villain with layers. So many people learn to appreciate a villain because they're not entirely evil.
Hmm.
Many times villains and I love these well-written stories and well-written characters because the best villains have moments of humanity.
So maybe like Catwoman or
Yeah.
Supergirl. Maybe like that you're leaning toward.
Well, villainy, so the antagonist in the case, yes.
Hmm.
Right, exactly. But so as long as I could play a villain with layers and depths and not just one
Okay.
note, not
Hmm.
like the drawing room cackling, ha ha ha, I'm the evil villain and I do bad things. It's like, and why are they bad? Because they're bad. It's like there's a story, there's a
Yeah.
humanity to them underneath, and sometimes it peeks through and then it gets squashed.
Okay.
Or like I
Right.
love those breaking moments where you get
I
to see
brought
glimpses.
I brought those up because to me they're the Catwoman and Supergirl, or kind of like Batman's sister. They're kind of like villains, or I don't know. I just that those two.
Sure.
If you mind me asking, I mean, not mind me saying, those two came to my head, or Wonder Woman, or um, there's many more could name. My brain just froze, but that's the character I was thinking when you were saying
Mm.
that because I do see, when I used to watch Supergirl.
Hmm.
Is, because there was a lot of famous actors on there, but they're like, I could see her. She was kind of like a villain. She was like, oh, I could do evil things, or I could be nice and save people.
Sure.
That was I thought you were kind of wording that way.
Yeah. It's the layers, right? It's the layers of humanity within both.
Hmm.
Because even in all good heroes, they have a dark side. And all
Amen.
all dark-sided villains have a light side to them, it's just many times buried deep beneath the surface.
Right. And
Hmm.
as yourself, what do you hope? And I know you sit here in Detroit. What do you hope to leave, as of now, what do you hope to leave for the next generations for young ladies and young kids and boys and girls who are potentially looking up to you or looking up anybody who are in the film industry and say, I want to be where you are. We
Yeah.
talked about audition, you have to have a thick skin, but what's your testimony of saying, don't quit, just keep going? Because I know you have that moment, like you were saying, when
Hmm.
we're doing auditions, you have so many no's before you get that yes, right? It's like a roller
Hmm.
coaster, because you may have this high moment, you're like, okay, and then you have this down moment. When you're a
Right.
beginner, you have all flat. It's all flat. And
Yes.
unfortunately it's the truth. So what is your motivation for your community in Detroit and or around the United States who are saying, I want to do this. This is the only way I see myself. What's your message and motivation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say this too, not only because I do coach, but also just as a person who supports other creatives and have a lot of creative growth left on my own end. Um, I invite anybody to feel free to reach out, and if and when I get the time, I will respond. So please, my name is Julia Allison, Voices by Jazzy J _ LLC on Instagram, and it's just Julia Allison on Facebook. So please feel free to reach out if you want to talk shop or heart to heart or whatever it is about the creative arts and acting. Other than that, the community around here, I can't speak right now to the full nature of a project that we're working on at Enigmaw Studios. But we are planning to leave behind quite the legacy and a culturally changing atmosphere for our creative community here in Michigan. And that's all I can really say on that matter. But as an individual, what I will say is first, stay open. Don't be defensive, be a blank canvas, and don't take things personally. Just grow, 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 grow. But
Amen.
other than that, fear is going to
Mm,
point in the direction that you need to go and say, don't go there. So make sure that you do, because that's exactly where you need to go. Fear is
amen.
going to point in the direction that you need to go and say, don't go there,
And go there.
and go there. Make
That
sure
is
you go.
that's so true. And I'm so glad you guys are going to leave an impact on Michigan. And everybody's the film industry is growing, but also it's a tough, auditions and my hair not long enough. I'm not making makeup,
I'm not
ladies.
fat enough. I'm not skinny
Right.
enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not short enough. My nose is too big. My nose is too small. Yeah, it's like,
You
whatever it
name
is.
it. You name it. For a lot of ladies and a lot of guys out there, they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? So that is so true.
Yeah.
Um, what's the most pivoted moment so far in your career?
The most pivoting moment? well, there's a moment I didn't realize that was going to pivot my entire career. And that's when I was reached out to by a co-actor I met on a Power Ranger set. And he says, "Hey, Julia, listen, I've got this role I think you'd be really perfect for. You want to come meet this guy and audition?" And I was like, "Well, sure, let me take a peek and see what you got." And then I watched a peek of what they got, and I was like, in my head, I was like, my eyes go like this. I was like, "Ooh, this is really good." And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll come audition. Like, I'll be there. Don't worry." And anyways, I go, and it was an in-person audition, and I was just kind of like, uh, trying not to be nervous, because it's very normal. If you got the butterflies, you're always gonna have the butterflies. But
Right.
I get there, I settle in. They've got the screen up and the big camera, and they're like, "Okay, you ready?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, of course." And and I auditioned, and it went well. And I said, I thanked them. And then later on, the director reached out to me and he said, "I would like to offer you this role." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, great." And this was for the movie Sugar Boys. What I didn't know at that time, and that it was such an honor to be cast for this role. What I did not know at that time was that that decision to go to that audition would completely change my career path and trajectory, because since then, the director and I and the team over at Enigmaw Studios, we all resonated so beautifully that I've since been integrated into the core team of production. And it's changed my path. It's changed so much. And like I said, there's bigger things we're working on, but it's really revolutionary is what it is. And I had no idea that that one audition could change your life.
That
So,
is absolutely amazing to hear that. Amazing. If you could go back to your 5 year, no, 10-year-old yourself,
mm.
what would you say?
uh, what would I say to my 10-year-old self? Huh. The only weakness that I lacked back then, that I was obvious, was I wasn't assertive. I was very kind little girl, too kind, and I think I would encourage myself and say it's okay to set boundaries, and it's okay to be assertive. Being a strong person does not mean that you cannot be kind. And
Hmm.
so that's what I strive, and a goal and a balance I'm still aiming to hit today is to how does one lead with both assertiveness and warmth, and it's a balance, but it's a beautiful one when you can strike it. So,
That's
and other than that, I just tell my 10-year-old self, have fun.
amazing, amazing. And you're probably, you can, I'm going to go ahead and ask you this. Your husband is probably surprised how far you have succeeded.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think
It's also, in my view, it's a motivation that you have family support, loved ones, husband or wife
Mhm.
supporting each other, especially family members,
Yeah.
and I've never run into anybody in so far, but it's tough to be in the entertainment industry or be in the industry and you don't have support, you know.
Yeah, and I've met people who don't, and it breaks my heart because it's so hard to love something so deeply and be enamored with an art, you know, and then have somebody try to pull the pencil out of your hand.
Mhm.
It's or not support it. And to be honest with you, when you first enter the industry, many people do what I refer to as false support. Like they say, "Oh, good job. Good for you." Like that's so great. But it's kind of fake. It's there's an undertone message of when are you going to get a real job? Or there's an undertone of like, do you actually think you're going to make it? You know what I mean? Like, but on the surface they're trying to be supportive.
Yeah.
And it's not until you really start earning more success. And I'll say that happened to me. Once I was a part of national ads and I had been in multiple movies and I'm being called upon regularly for commercials and not even really having to audition much, honestly. It's at that point when people start saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I even know you. I can't believe we grew up together," blah, 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 or whatever it may be. That's when it becomes more genuine. But unfortunately, the way artistry around our society works is until you meet a certain level of success, a lot of the support you receive isn't authentic, because it's not considered um, truly meritable until you have something to show,
Right.
you know?
That's
So,
so true.
yeah, I just being honest about it. And I say that with
No,
love, but
no.
that's how it is. And you have to have thick skin because if you
Hmm.
support yourself, like you have to understand that. And I've talked to other actresses just within the last couple of weeks about this. They said, I'm doing this, but like I feel kind of judged about it, and like and they're like, oh, that's cool, so and so, and that's that. I'm like, that's kind of what you get. And I'm like, you're gonna get that until in their eyes you do something that is establishing,
Hmm.
and then their support will be more like, I'm so glad I know you.
Yeah. And you're right.
So it is
It's a
what it
thick,
is,
it is what it is. You have to have a thick skin and be in this entertainment industry. 100%. 100%.
Yes.
So I know
And
you
believe
already,
in yourself.
yes, 100%. Courage, believe in yourself, keep going, keep the faith, don't give up.
Yeah.
100%. I know
Right.
I know you mentioned it, but where can people find you on social media?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, Julia Allison, it's Voices by Jazzy J underscore LLC. So it's at Voices by Jazzy J underscore LLC. On Facebook, it's just type in Julia Allison. I think you might see a parentheses Jazzy J in there. If not, feel free to email me. You can get a hold of me at julia@enigma.com. E-N, I always do this. Enigmaw. There's a W at the end. So just keep that in mind.
You had to
I
pause and
don't know
think there.
why. For some reason, Enigma, I cannot. I'm a great speller. I cannot spell that, and it's in my own email. So Julia@enigma.com with a W at the end of Enigma.
Everybody be like, wait, what's just, oh, there, okay. Yes.
Enigma.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and thank you for following me on Instagram. And
Absolutely.
I cannot wait to speak with you again soon with your upcoming projects that we can talk
Yeah.
about.
That's great. And thank you. It's such an honor and a privilege to be on here and a part of your show. And thank you to your viewers that have been watching and just much love and support. And thank you for giving the opportunity to speak. So,
You're very welcome. It's your viewers that's going to also be tuning in as well. And I love talking to all the actors, A-list, B-list, C-list or not, beginners
mhm.
or not, to hear their story about what brought them in this. And
Yeah,
so far, everybody who I've been hearing is storytelling, or they want to do something for their community. They want to help the next generation because they want them to continue to help.
right.
Hey, we're here. So,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
yes,
beautiful.
100%. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're
God
very welcome.
bless. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.